Welcome to Stories from the Center of the Universe, the podcast about the human experience.
Lindsay Gilman, welcome to the Center of the Universe.
Thanks.
All right, I have to set the stage here. The whole family is here, the immediate Gilman family, 5, plus our 2 dogs. So we have Lindsay's mom, Lisa, Lindsay's brother, Zach, Lindsay's sister, Melissa, and our 2 dogs, Zeppy and Shiloh. And of course, I am Lindsay's father. We're excited to talk about Lindsay recently turning 21 on Friday the 13th. Today's December 18th, and I think this will go out Monday the 20th, which will be a cool day for it to go out on. It'll be exactly a week after your birthday. And so we're going to ask you some questions. We're going to tell stories, and we are going to see if maybe your sister and your mom get off their phones and focus on the conversation. Before we get going, I do have to apologize. It was Sunday, so 3 days ago, I was flipping channels and I saw that Man City was playing Man United, and there was 85 minutes into the match. And so if you follow soccer or the English Premier League, you know that the matches go 92 to 98 minutes long. And so I figured there's about 10 minutes left. Man City, Lindsay's favorite team, was up 1-0 with roughly 10 minutes to go. And by the end of the match, Man United beat Man City 2-1.
I don't want to talk.
And it's because I jinxed it. I texted her and said, "Hey, are you watching this?" I am. Please let me enjoy this victory. And then it was not a victory. So apologies for jinxing your team,
no
Lindsay.
worries.
All right. Mom, do you want to tell, or Lisa, do you want to tell the story of her birthday, her actual day of birth?
It happened on a Saturday, and we were getting ready to move out of our house in Pebble Creek on Greenhaven Drive. And Zach was a little over 2, and I was very pregnant with Lindsay, and I left the house to go shopping to get some extra Christmas gifts, etc. And Paul and Zach were home. I think my parents came over to help with the packing up the house. And I'm in Target, walking around, and I'm feeling a lot of pressure on my bladder. If you're a woman, you know what that means. If you're a guy, you have no idea. But I'm kind of like hunched over a little bit, but I'm thinking, oh, she's just leaning on my bladder. It's fine. So I do my grocery shopping. My Target shopping. I come home, and my mother looks at me, and she goes, "Oh my God, you dropped." And I have no idea really what that means, but it just means that the baby kind of now has dropped into closer to the birth canal.
Lindsay in this case.
Lindsay in this case. And I was like, no, I'm fine. She's just pushing on my bladder. So my parents were planning on going to church that night. As good Catholics do, you can go to church on Saturday or Sunday. There was 5 o'clock mass on Saturday, and they were planning on going that evening. So my mom said to me, "Hey, we're headed home. We're going to get ready for church. If something goes on, if you need to go to the hospital, please call us. If not, we won't be available." So I was like, okay. So I sit on the couch and I prop my legs up, and I'm still feeling this pressure. And I'm like, wow, I'm sitting down and I'm still feeling this pressure on my bladder. That kind of doesn't make sense because I'm not standing vertical. So I said to Paul, I was like, "Hey, I don't know. Do we call my parents? Do we not? Because, we don't want them to miss Mass, because you don't miss Mass when you're Catholic." And Paul's like, "Let's just call." So I called my parents to come over to watch Zach. Paul and I headed to the hospital, and this is funny. I was wearing this turtleneck sweater, this maternity turtleneck sweater.
The yellow one?
Yes, the yellow one. And I was like, "Hey, I don't want to take this off because I don't want it pulling over my head." And they're like, "No, you're going to need to get undressed." So I was like, crap. So I got undressed. I had the gown. They put the belt over me that tells you about contractions. And they're like, "No, ma'am, you're in labor. You're going to have this baby today." And I was like, well, you know what? My mom said she thought the baby would be due on her mother's birthday, my grandmother's birthday. And lo and behold, Lindsay came out 8
47.
8:47 via C-section on my grandmother's birthday on December 13th.
8:47 p.m. and it was snowing that night was one of my memories.
I don't remember it snowing. I was more concerned about my baby and my contractions, sort of, and having another C-section.
We have, at the moment of birth, I said something that I've regretted for the last 21 years. Lindsay, do you want to share what my first words upon seeing you?
You said to Mom, she looks like your Uncle Frank.
So here's the background on that. Zach came out blonde, but bald. So whatever little hair he had, he was blonde. And his first APGAR, if you know what that is, that kind of tells how the baby's doing, was a 2. He was barely breathing. He was alive, but he was just not fully with it at this time because the cord was wrapped around his neck. I assumed my second child was going to look like my first child. I assumed she would have blondish hair, bald, and coming out looking like that. She came out with a mop of dark hair, red face, screaming bloody murder. And that's the first look that I get. They pull her out and they hold her up, and I'm like, "What is that?" And Zach and Paul goes, "She looks like your Uncle Frank." And I was like, "Oh my god!"
Those were literally the first words out of your mouth.
Yeah. I mean, I regret it. I still regret it all these years later.
I think it's funny.
You didn't say it.
I guess.
Not that Uncle Frank's a bad-looking guy,
But
but
he's a 5'4" Italian man.
guy who was probably in his 60s at the time.
Probably, yeah.
All right, so apology.
No worries.
Officially recorded apology for what I said upon your birth. But yeah,
Took
your
20
mom and I
years.
had, I mean, obviously mom was the one giving birth, but like 2 shockingly different kids emerging at birth. And you mentioned it briefly. I don't think we moved back to the house.
No, we were packing up. We left and we moved right into Nonnie and Poppy's house because our house in Milestone, we weren't ready to move in until February.
So you left Pebble Creek, delivered me, and then went to
And
Milestone?
went to Milestone, Nonnie and Poppy's house.
That's weird.
Yeah, you never out of the womb lived in Pebble Creek. It's pretty wild.
Interesting.
All right, I remember Lou as a small child who was wildly climbing on things way before I thought she should have, and so I remember many times you could walk. I think you just started walking, or maybe you've been walking for a couple of months, and next thing I know, you're on the counter. I turn my back and you're up on the counter. I'm like, I don't even know how she did that. Didn't make any sense. Do you have any recollections of her climbing?
So our laundry room was on the first floor, and I was doing something with the laundry, whether pulling it out of the dryer or putting it from the washer into the dryer. And I hear Zach going, and she wasn't even a year yet, maybe 11 and a half months. And he's yelling, "Mom, Lindsay's on the counter." And I come out of the laundry room because it's right by the kitchen. And she climbed up on the bar stool, stood up on the counter, and she's going through the way our cabinets was set up. We had like a corner area, and I had that's where I kept like our medicine, the children's Tylenol and she's opening up that cabinet and she is laughing like,
She knew.
Look at me.
Yeah, she was doing something that we didn't expect.
Right. And I was like, oh, because Zach didn't walk until he was like 13 and a half months. So at 11 and a half months, I was not expecting her to be on the counter.
And there she was.
And there she was
Zach
in all her glory.
As her older brother, do you have any memories of her as like a baby or a toddler that's stuck out to you?
I barely remember my
Zach, what did you call her?
Winice.
Winice.
Allegedly. I don't remember that.
Winice.
Winice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cute.
That name never really stuck.
No.
It should have.
It could have turned into.
Your sister's name stuck.
It did stick. You could be Winnie. We
true.
could have converted that to Winnie pretty easily. Do you have an earliest memory?
Yeah, my earliest memory is you leaving for Iraq.
Oh gosh.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was 3 and some change.
What do you remember exactly?
I remember holding the sign and like flying down the hill or flying up off the
I
ground.
thought that's when I came back.
No, it's not, because I saw the pictures of me holding the sign, or Mom holding the sign, and I was wearing that little white dress, and that was pictures from when you left.
So you were not even 3.5 yet.
Yeah.
It was windy.
Well, no, and then the
The
helicopters.
helicopters came.
And I remember being really upset that you didn't leave in a helicopter. You left on a bus.
It would have been so much cooler leaving
That's
on
what
a
I thought. I was
helicopter.
really excited,
Did you-
and then you left on a bus, and I was really
And
upset.
then you waved.
I remember that too. The big black bus. They were like,
Charter
they were
buses.
charter buses.
Charter
Yeah.
buses.
I remember
Do you
that.
do you remember being happy or sad or
I probably was confused. I probably didn't
understand what was going
understand
on?
why you were
Yeah,
leaving.
it's a party, right? 'Cause
Well, that's what I mean. Didn't we have a party when you left, or was that when you came back?
Everybody seemed really happy with the idea of me leaving.
we had a party when he left. It was a stop.
Because I think we had. Was that where we had the giant
Yeah.
bouncy house with the
Oh, I remember
Crayola,
that,
the
too.
crayons?
because it snowed.
do you remember when he came back?
Well, didn't you come back twice?
I came back for R&R.
I mean,
came
the
back.
final time.
I don't, not really, but I remember every time. I can't remember if it was when you left or when you came back, but I'm pretty sure when you came back, like, because we would have to go to the base or wherever, being bored out of my mind because there was nothing to do and we were just sitting
Waiting and waiting. 'cause
And I think they maybe had like balloons or something
Yeah.
for the kids, but I don't.
I meant when he was walking from the airport.
No,
Yeah, that was-
I don't.
that
remember.
was R&R.
I remember.
I don't
Oh, it
remember.
was? Mm-hmm. Oh, well, I remember that.
I don't remember that.
My recollection from that, real quickly, was Zach and Lindsay ran towards me because you guys remembered that I existed, that I was your father, and Melissa, who's not spoken yet, and we'll bring her in here in a couple minutes. Melissa stared at me like I was some stranger, and why were her older
I was
siblings?
not even 1 yet.
No, when you
When-
came
when I
back.
left,
Well,
when I
when
left.
he
When you
left,
came
I
back.
wasn't even a year old. So that.
Yeah, it was right before your first birthday.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So he was
Gotta
gone
bring that
for
up.
over half your life at that point, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But
oh, wow.
I-
That's weird to think. Yeah, it's all good. I didn't recognize my dad when he came back from Vietnam.
And I
either.
heard, I was listening to Papa's, he said he didn't recognize his dad when he came back from World War II.
Wow, 3 generations.
Yeah, Zach's got to do it now.
I'm going to Russia.
Okay. I also remember when we got the box of Hershey Kisses, and like we had to eat one every night, and it was like a countdown to when you got home or something.
There was.
I don't think I knew
Oh, I
about
remember
that.
that.
Well, because
too,
I'm.
yeah.
Well, I think you guys pretended that he sent it.
It was. There was.
You didn't send it? Wait.
There,
No, Mom and I think
Mom and Noni.
did
It
it.
was.
We should talk more often.
Wait,
'cause I don't even know that this was a
Okay,
thing.
I've
Let
spent
me-
the last 15 years of my life thinking that he sent it.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Really?
Well, that's probably the idea. That was probably what they wanted.
Well,
you
it
to think.
worked. I thought he sent it.
It was a Hershey's kiss and a Hershey's hug, and every night before you bed, you got a hug and a kiss
It
from
said
Daddy.
it said on the
Yeah.
box. It said hugs and kisses, love Dad, and we still
Yeah,
have those
and
boxes.
They weren't available where I was.
You
I was
thought-
like 7. I didn't know they didn't have Hershey's
you
Kisses in a
weren't
rack.
7. You were
6.
like 5.
No,
Really?
when he
Okay,
left,
five,
he
whatever.
came back. He was 6. It was
Well,
08.
when he
Whatever.
left, he was 5 and a half.
So Zach had one notion of what was happening, and you're learning right now in
Yeah,
the moment.
right now.
My apologies for not doing something that I didn't know about until right now.
No, I'm not blaming you. I just didn't. I didn't know.
I wish I'd known about that. That's a great idea. It's a really good idea.
You're welcome.
And so, was there a pile? Like, because you didn't know when I was going to come home exactly, right? So
I
it's not
think
like
we
you-
did like 365.
Yeah.
Oh, I
So-
thought it was like the last 100 or something.
I don't know. Noni did it. She threw a bag of Hershey Kisses and a bag of Hershey Hugs, and I guess we just kept replenishing it.
What's a Hershey hug?
They were the ones that were used to be like coated with candy or something.
But
They don't make
they were like brown and like white chocolate and
They
brown.
don't. They don't
chocolate or
make them
something.
anymore.
They were meant to go with kisses, so you had hugs and kisses.
Hugs and
Well, yeah, I
kisses.
guess
I
the
don't know.
idea. By the way, the listening audience, if you hear annoying sounds in the background, to calm our dogs down, we gave them something to chew on, and so you're hearing an annoying set of sounds with dogs chewing.
I also will say, when you were in Baghdad, I thought it was called Baghdad because dads went there.
I did too. Did you think that?
she didn't
I
talk.
couldn't really process.
She didn't
I-
talk.
Well, and didn't they? My preschool teacher make me do 2 of every
Yes.
art project
Yes,
so we could
and
send
that
one.
would that I'm gonna cry. Yes, I'm gonna get emotional. Yeah, she was in preschool, and her preschool teacher had every time they did like a cute little craft, and not just like the letter of the week craft, but like a Valentine's craft or a Christmas or whatever. They had Lindsay make 2, so we could send one to Paul in Iraq.
Yeah, I love getting those. Those are awesome.
I don't
Do you
remember
still have
doing
those?
that, but I remember you telling me about it. But didn't, if you want to laugh, what did I tell people when they asked what my dad did?
Oh, she said, he's in Baghdad. Dad, and she would pretend she had
A gun.
a machine gun. Boom, 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 boom. I have no idea where she got that from, and that still baffles my mind. But that's what she would say.
All right, Lou. So as you were going through childhood, what would you say your first interest or something that really got your attention, and you stayed with?
No, before presents, it was Dora. That's the earliest I can think of. Well, I was obsessed with Dora.
What was it about Dora
You were
that made you
Dora
so?
for Halloween.
I was
Dora.
Dora for Halloween.
She just as Dora, just to
Just
dress
for
as
fun.
Dora.
Maybe that's why she's so good at Spanish.
Yeah, it could be.
Well, she knew. So every time we went up for a nap or went up for bed, we would count the steps. 1, 2, 3, and I think there was like 14. And so then I started going, 1, 2, and she would go 3, 4, and so she, by the time she was 3, she knew how to count to 10 in English and Spanish.
You want to make it up to 14 with the 14 steps?
I think we just stopped at some point.
Makes sense.
But anyway.
Melissa, what's your first memory of your older sister? Do you have one?
Well, I remember a lot in elementary school. I would kind of copy what she did, and just like wanted to do anything she did, because that's the younger sister. I looked up to her, and I remember one time specifically we were painting, and I would like want to like use the colors she used, because I looked up to her. I wanted to do anything she did, and that kind of outgrew in middle school, but.
Some would argue you're still like that with her a little bit.
Well, I steal some of her sweatshirts, but that's the point.
All right. Well, so Melissa did bring up presidents.
Mm-hmm.
Was that your next interest after Dora? Was the U.S.
I
presidents?
guess.
All right. Because this is recorded, and we've asked you to do this hundreds of times, but I'm going to ask you to do it one more time right now. Can you rattle off in order, starting with the first president through the current president or the president-elect? So 47 names. Here we go.
Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Madison, Monroe, Adams, Jackson, Van Buren, Harrison, Tyler, Polk, Taylor, Fillmore, Pierce, Buchanan, Lincoln, Johnson, Grant, Hayes, Garfield, Arthur, Cleveland, Harrison, Cleveland, McKinley, Roosevelt, Taft, Wilson, Harding, Coolidge, Hoover, Roosevelt, Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan, Bush, Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden, Trump.
That was
Oh
fast.
my God, that was really fast.
And I'm very confident that that's accurate because I don't think she's ever not
She's never
gotten it
messed
right.
up.
Trust me.
I'm not gonna fact check her.
Do you practice that in your
I
head?
did, and then that just stuck with me when I was like 8.
So you don't practice. You haven't practiced in a long time.
Well, I mean, if people ask me, I can still do it.
Well, you just add one every 4 years now. I mean, she's already got the base.
But
you know?
also, she knows crazy facts about each president. So, like,
is that true? Mm-hmm. All right.
Well,
so
not like
Every
each
single
of them.
one?
I'm not.
Oh,
So, like
That's
Taft.
what
What
knows.
was Taft?
that's not as
like,
He was the
impressive.
fattest president.
all right. What
That was
about
kinda
Monroe?
no, hold on. Let's throwing names out. Let's throw numbers out, and then you tell us who the president was, and then a fun fact if you remember about.
32.
FDR is the only president in a wheelchair.
13.
Millard Fillmore,
I thought it was Zachary Taylor.
no, he's 12. Millard Fillmore is kind of, I don't really think I know anything interesting.
Not
about
an
him.
impressive
Not an impressive
What
president.
about
presidency.
He might be the most forgettable.
19?
That was Rutherford B. Hayes. He had the first telephone in the White House. His phone number was 1. And his wife was known as Lemonade Lucy because she refused to serve alcohol in the White House.
Nice.
Rutherford B. Hayes is when I try to name all the presidents, not in order because I can't do it in order, but just to name them all, I always miss Rutherford B.
Hayes.
Hayes.
You get Millard Fillmore?
If I miss 2, Miller's the other one.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go with 9.
William Henry Harrison served for shortest presidency, 32 days.
Because he died from.
He gave his inauguration address in the rain, got pneumonia,
Wow.
and died.
And
after.
really?
See, this is an educational podcast.
Right.
Now.
44.
Obama, first black president.
Okay.
There it is.
All right.
He had doodles in the White House.
Well, true.
1.
Let me think.
I just want to hear a fact.
Oh, his teeth were made out of walrus tusks, like ivory,
Not wood.
not wood.
He had to be a pretty scary guy with walrus
I would imagine.
teeth.
Tusks.
Yeah, and he was
Or-
giant back then.
He was like 6'2", I think.
Yeah, 6'2".
6'2" or 6'3", and everybody back then was like 5'6", maybe.
Yeah. He'd be like 6'10" today.
Yeah.
Yeah. He'd be a big guy. right, cool. Anything else we want to talk about on U.S. presidents? Are your
Who's
friend-
going to
are
be
you-
48?
Huh?
Who's going to be 48?
I don't even want to think about that.
Okay.
But fun fact for the family: everybody voted. This
First time all 5 of us.
yeah,
Really?
In a presidential election.
because Mel got to vote this time around, which is really cool, and we all voted. Right? We all were excited to vote. All right, I feel like we shouldn't leave U.S. presidents.
We'll come back to that.
I can say that I got really into them for absolutely no reason when I was 8, and now I'm a history major.
So wasn't it because you were watching?
No, it was
book
because
flicks?
I'm a middle child and I needed something interesting about myself
Oh, I thought-
that Melissa wouldn't copy.
I thought you.
Well, no, that was it because I got curious about it just on my own.
And then you would watch the
And then
book
I
flicks.
would like Google it.
Oh.
I'd Google the presidents, and then I found out they had that book on Bookflix, and I
Gotcha.
would watch it all the time, every week.
And that was going to be your thing.
And then the presidents turned into the Beatles.
Oh, yeah.
How old were
But
you?
she did copy that.
She did.
How old were you when you first became interested, or even knew the Beatles existed?
Well, I don't even remember when I first found out they existed. I feel like I've known
Didn't you
they are my
like
whole
watch
life.
a
But
video?
I was 10 when I became a fan.
And what is it about the Beatles that has caught your attention?
Well, when I was 10, I just thought it was interesting that they had songs like I Want to Hold Your Hand, and then they did I Am the Walrus. It's a large
pretty different,
contrast. And at that age, I didn't know what drugs were, so I didn't understand. And then I just needed something new, interesting about myself. So-
To complement your understanding of U.S. presidents.
Yeah. So I just obsessed over them, and it's been, 10 and a half years now?
And you've memorized quite a few things about the Beatles as well. Like out of the 300 songs that those 4 wrote, 300-ish, you can say who wrote each song. Is that accurate? All right, let's go around.
All of them?
Yeah.
We'll start with Mom. Name a Beatles song, and she'll tell you who wrote it.
I Want to Hold Your Hand. Just because
Well, John and Paul wrote it together.
Some of the songs.
And who sang it? Like, because
Both of them.
both of them. So sometimes John would be lead, and sometimes
Well, in the early days, they
Paul would
sung
be
all
lead.
together pretty much.
Oh, gotcha.
What about I Am the Walrus?
John wrote it.
What was he on when he...
Well, probably LSD, but he wrote it because allegedly some girl wrote him a letter saying, in my English class, we're going to be analyzing Beatles lyrics, and that annoyed him because he didn't like that people looked into him so much, so he intentionally wrote a song about nothing to confuse people. It's a true story.
No, I believe that. That speaks to my understanding of his personality, for sure. You want to name a Beatles song?
She Loves You.
They wrote that together. Paul
A
and
lot
John.
of Beatles songs were Lennon and McCartney.
Well, they're all the ones that either one of them wrote are credited to both of them. Even
Gotcha.
if they wrote them separately.
All right, how about Let It Be?
Paul wrote it.
Paul wrote it.
Yeah.
Who was the more prolific writer?
You mean like better?
I
Or
mean
who
volume.
wrote more?
Yeah.
Oh, Paul. Well, because he lived longer.
And
Or do you mean in the Beatles?
In the Beatles.
They're probably pretty. I think Paul technically had more, but
But they were both,
pretty close.
yeah, they both put out a lot.
But speaking of Let It Be, Lindsay can play that
Well, I don't know if I still
on
can.
the. Well, you were able to at one time play that on the piano.
What
Yeah,
about the guitar?
you played
Not the guitar.
3 instruments, piano, guitar, and bass. I would consider
yeah.
bass a separate instrument. Do you still play those?
Well, I don't have them at school with me, so I play them sometimes when I'm at home. But
What's your favorite instrument?
to play?
Yeah.
Guitar.
Can you jam on a recording to go with this podcast episode?
Probably not. I'm not that good. It's not.
When you try to play songs, because I know you're...
I just play chords and stuff. I have the music on in the background.
I got you. Okay. Do you ever want to get to a place where you're extremely proficient?
I mean, if I could snap my fingers and make that happen, then yes. But,
So you're not into the grind as much, because it does take a...
well, I'm
yeah,
also a college student.
who can't play the guitar in her dorm room,
Yeah.
especially the electric one.
Yeah.
All right, nice. You have a favorite memory from, say, elementary school, or? And by the way, the rest of the family members think of questions you guys want to ask her.
The Golden Quill.
I was about to
pretty
say either
cool.
that or I got 3rd place in the school spelling bee that same year, 2nd grade.
And that was
That was a pretty goated year for me.
well, and that
What's
was
the
a crazy
golden-
year
It was-
because the spelling bee that she won 1st place in, or 3rd place in, sorry, she won 1st place for her grade level, and then I don't know why they do this, but then they put first second, third, fourth, and fifth graders, and they pin them up against each other. And so obviously a fifth grader has more
time
Well, it was
spelling.
two per each grade, so there were 10 of us.
Oh, was there?
You came in
Well,
third out of 10.
I had the 2 fifth graders beat me.
And the fourth and third graders didn't?
Correct.
It's pretty wild.
I got out on the word allergen. I spelled it G-I-N instead of G-E-N.
You'll never forget that word.
Nope.
I'm trying to. I
think Mom was there.
I was there.
School spelled me.
Yeah, I was excited.
Yeah. Zach, did you have a word that you misspelled?
Oh no, Zach refused to participate in the spelling bee.
No, he's talking about something else.
Oh no.
Do you not want to say because you're a quarter Italian? Is that why you don't want to share the word?
No. Do you remember that story Noah and I told you like 3 weeks ago about the spelling bee, about how we met?
Oh yeah.
And I misspelled spaghetti.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
No, Zach.
I don't think I've ever misspelled spaghetti in my life.
But no,
Thank you.
Zach
No,
came
just 'cause
home
I ate so much of it.
after first grade and said, "Mom, guess what? We had a spelling bee and I won." And he was so excited. And then he found out he had to go against all the other first graders. And he
He refused to participate.
well,
Freaked him
no,
out.
he participated, but he got out. And then every year after that, he would intentionally misspell words.
I don't know if that's true.
That's what you told me. You said I don't want to be.
Maybe
in
I
the
was just
spelling
covering
bee."
my butt because I wasn't as smart as you thought I was.
But okay.
It's all good. And by the way, this is Lindsay Gilman turns 21, not Zach.
Yeah,
Gilman,
let's
spelling
go
bee
back
from
to her.
third grade. You were a prolific speller and reader
Yeah.
for a young age. What do you attribute that to?
My reading abilities? I guess my mom, who raised her hand. Probably also my dad, who also read me books most nights, I think.
Yeah.
I know.
And we would play the game where you would trace a letter on my back, and I'd have to guess what it was.
Yeah,
and
we
it's a
did.
word I loved.
I think I probably get a little more credit than Mom.
No,
maybe.
Well, you read me more bedtime stories than she did.
I have to go backwards because we would be in the car and Lindsay would look at a sign, whether it's a store sign, a street sign, or whatever. And she would say, "What does?" And then she would see the sign and she would say, "UKROPS spell." And I said, "That spells Ukrops." Then we would travel a little bit further down the road and she would be like, "What does?" And she would see a street sign and it may be like First Street. And she would say, "What does FIRST spell?" And I would say, "It spells first." Somehow at the age of 3.5, 4, she put together that the letters had sounds, the sounds made up a word, and she put them all together. The next thing I know, we're in the church nursery, because it was on my time to volunteer during church, and I had her and Melissa with me. And she's reading a book to some of the younger kids in the thing, and I didn't even take notice, but the other nursery worker was like, "Oh my God, she's reading." And I'm like, "She's reading?" And I'm looking at her, and she's reading this book. I was like, "Oh my God." She would actually give Zach his spelling tests, like quizzes the night before to practice
Really?
tests. Yeah.
Wow, I don't remember that.
You didn't do that great of a job. You couldn't spell spaghetti.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
That's your fault.
Sorry.
All right, so Lindsay, like your siblings, you are part English background, German background. There's probably a little French in there from 3 of your 4 grandparents, but one of your grandparents is full Sicilian descent. Mm-hmm. You are fascinated with that part of your family. What is it about that part of your...
Because it's interesting.
And the rest of us are boring?
They don't make movies about English immigrants. They make mafia movies. And also
What
Italian.
about the IRA?
Italian.
They're not English, but
Italian food is significantly better than any of the other cuisines you just named.
Yeah, German are not. They've got some good food, but
I
they're
quote
not known
unquote
for it.
lived in England for 4.5 months. I can tell you that's probably the worst of the worst.
Wow,
English or
English food.
we're throwing shade at the English
Well-
cuisine. They've earned it, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right, what's your favorite movie?
Goodfellas.
What's your favorite series of movies?
Godfather.
How many times have you watched Goodfellas?
Realistically, like 45.
golly.
Zach is genuinely surprised by
What's
that.
it, like 3 hours long?
2.5.
It's a Scorsese movie, right? So he's
You've spent like 120-ish hours of your life.
I've lived a long life.
how many times have you watched? How many Godfathers are there?
3.
How many times? And which one's the best and which one's the not so good?
The third one's bad. The other 2 are both good.
And it's kind of a tie.
Depends on my mood. I think objectively speaking, the second one's better.
Wow. All right. What is it about the second one that
Because
makes
they
it so
have
good?
the De Niro scenes with like his origin story.
Yeah, you've got and Pacino's in the second one as well.
Pacino's
right?
in all 3 of them.
And it's because in the second one there's a lot of bouncing between generations. I got you. We're having some mic challenges here.
Pacino's my all-time favorite actor. I'm
Wait.
absolutely obsessed with him.
Pacino.
I asked for his autobiography for Christmas. I'm really hoping Santa pulls through.
How many times have you seen, was it Goodfellas? No, The Godfather.
The first one, or
All 3 of them.
I've only seen the third one time. That was enough. The first 2, 20-some, 30.
It's a lot of time watching mafia movies.
Well, exactly.
And you enjoy it each time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Doesn't get boring to you. All right.
And I read the books too.
When are you going to watch Goodfellas again?
Probably sometime over break.
All right, Zach, you got any questions for your sister?
I don't have a question, but I do have a first memory.
All right.
Well, maybe not first, but early. It was Lindsay taking a Matchbox car and and nailing Ethan in the head from maybe, I don't know how far away she was, but it was a good shot.
Thank you.
Well, Lindsay.
Were you aiming for his forehead?
Yeah, Lindsay, give the background to that story.
Okay, me, Zach, and Ethan were up on the 3rd floor.
At the Coleman's
The
house.
Colemans, they had a little treadmill or
I
a
treadmill.
treadmill up there, and all the little like cars and stuff. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say what Mom and Aunt Laura were.
They were
They were getting wine
the
drunk.
husbands
They were
were
getting wine drunk downstairs.
off on drill and not around. So the little ones, Melissa and Elizabeth, were in the kitchen with us while we were sipping on some wine.
The others,
As you do.
the 3 of us unattended upstairs, throwing the matchbox or the little cars on the treadmill and watching them hit the wall because
You had the treadmill on, and
let them roll into the wall. Cause
whose idea was that?
probably Ethan's.
Because Ethan had done it many times before. I'm
sure.
guessing. Yeah.
But anyway, I was sitting on the treadmill or adjusting something, and he turned it on, and so I went crashing into the wall. And I don't know why you guys like dismiss that so much, but there's literally pictures of me with a giant scrape on my chin. I can pull one up real quick. And then, so I got mad at him, obviously, and he ran down the stairs, and I chucked a metal matchbox bulldozer from the top of the stairs.
And it nailed him right in his forehead.
Was he looking back at you? He had
Must
to
have
be.
He had to been. And then he came downstairs, and Laura and I were in the kitchen with the girls, and he was holding his head, and he was crying. And we're like, oh my God, what's wrong? And then he pulls his hand off, and there's just blood coming out of his forehead.
I have another memory from that room. Upstairs when we put Melissa inside of a
I don't
little.
think I was
I
there
don't think
for
you were
that.
there for that.
I was.
Me? I definitely was.
Let's save that one for Melissa turns 21. It's all good.
I
'cause-
wasn't there.
I
for
thought
that.
Lindsay was there for that.
No, Lindsay does
No,
not have that
Elizabeth.
memory.
It was me and Elizabeth and Lindsay. You
I
weren't
wasn't.
there.
No, I was
I
not
think
there.
you were there.
I was
I
there.
remember.
All right,
Let's
we're
move
moving
on.
on. We're moving on. Were you ever into sports, Lou?
Watching or playing?
Playing.
For like a hot second. And like when I was 10.
And what was the sport? Or
Basketball. Well, I did gymnastics all through elementary school.
did you enjoy gymnastics?
Oh, you
For
did,
like the
you
first
did
couple
dance.
years. Oh, I did dance when I was like 3 years old.
Yeah.
Is that a sport? Are we considering that a sport?
Well,
that count?
it was an activity. So
I'd say it's an
I guess.
athletic activity. It's,
Yeah.
it's close enough. I did gymnastics 6 years.
I don't know. I just remember you were able
5
to
or 6.
climb up that rope and ring the bell.
Yeah, it was pretty good. But I didn't really like that after a while.
In basketball, you played from 5 to 10, and did you enjoy any of
No,
that?
I
She
played.
played in middle school.
I played.
Oh, that's right.
From,
That's right.
I played once when I was 5.
I was
And
your
then
coach.
You were my coach, but you missed half the stuff because you were away on drill. And they remember they used to announce your name. They'd be like, and the coaches, and they'd say your name, and I'd be like, he's not even here.
No, and I
But-
remember that one time you played, I don't know, you must have been 10 or 11, and you actually scored some points. And then you said, no. This is it gets better. You get down, and we were watching, I guess, Zach's game after, and you're like, I don't feel well.
Well, also, I played that whole game, by the way.
Because you only had 5
we didn't
players.
have any subs, so I played that entire game.
You sat down, you're like, I don't feel well. And I felt your forehead. I was like, oh my God, you're burning up. You had the flu. So she played the whole game, scored some points.
She scored 12 points that game.
I don't think
That's
she
not
scored
true.
12.
12?
Your best game, you scored 12 points.
But that
Was
wasn't
not that
that
game.
wasn't that game. But she ended up having the flu, and I'm like, God bless her. Yeah, we
Probably
went to,
gave
we went to
flu to all
KidMed that
those
night.
girls. Yeah.
And you ran track for how long in high school?
Like a day. But let me tell you, the only reason why is because I had surgery that fall. And so I wasn't allowed to do gym so I was like really out of shape, and I was like, well, I'll try track, and then
You realize it was pretty
I
hard.
realized it's not just running.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So,
But I played basketball from like 10 to 14.
so you started when you were 5, though.
Yeah, but for one season.
Oh, then you didn't play when you were
Till I
6,
was-
7?
No,
Oh.
I was doing gymnastics.
Oh, that's right.
And I started piano lessons. And Girl Scouts.
All right, nice. What's your favorite subject?
History.
And what is it about history?
Well, because I got obsessed with the presidents, and the American presidency spans quite a bit of time.
Do you like all history?
No. I like mostly European history, American history, military history, modern history.
I don't remember which one of you it was, but somebody asked me a history question, and y'all knew I studied history in college as well, and I didn't know the answer. And they're like, I thought you majored in history. I'm like, doesn't mean I know all history. So I hope you get that from your children someday, Lou.
Well, hopefully I'll be able to answer the question.
No.
Nice. You have a better chance than me, for sure. All right, Mom, you got any other stories or questions you want to ask Lou?
No, but it's funny that you just called her Lou, and just going back when she was little, she was Lindsay Lou, and then it was Lulu, and I think her dad and I are the only ones that call her Lou. Like Zach doesn't, Melissa doesn't. They call her Lindsay. Her grandparents don't call her Lou. I think that's just, and I think that's kind of sweet. Like the only people that call you Lou are your parents. But it's really funny because she would come home from school in kindergarten or first grade, and her name on her paper would be Lou, L-U. And I'm like, absolutely not. I'm like, you were in school, you were writing your full name. You're not just writing Lou.
But that's how it's spelled. It's L-U.
L-U.
Yeah.
We go L-U. I know, I think some people say L-O-U, like when
That's
they
the boy
address
version.
her, but we say L-U. So Lindsay Lou.
How many nicknames do you have?
I don't know. A lot, probably. Like out of my whole life?
Well, yeah, sure. Give us the top.
Probably a lot.
Give us
I don't
3 or 4 of them.
well,
Gilly's one of them.
Gilly, my friends at school call me Gilly.
We all get Gilly.
Yeah, all those two.
Yeah.
Yeah, not me.
Not you. I mean, that's...
Linsaloo, I call you that sometimes.
Yeah, Mom calls me Lulu Bird.
Lulu Bird.
Yeah,
Someone used to call me Looper. I think that was Mima.
yeah.
It was either Mima or Aunt Buffy because
Yeah,
it
she
was
would call
Lindsay
me-
Looper.
She would call me Looper.
Yeah.
Nice.
But no, Lou, it's just as funny that that's just our natural go-to when we're calling you. We just say Lou, and you answer, but nobody else in the family picked up on it, which I kind of like. I like being the only ones calling you Lou.
Yeah, I'm with you. Totally with you on that. All right, so you're studying history. What year are you in college?
I'm a junior.
And what school do you go to?
Randolph Macon.
Nice. And you've enjoyed Randolph Macon, right?
Yeah.
What are you going to do with your history degree? Which, is, by the way, is every college student's least favorite question.
Well,
So I apologize in advance
there's
for
a
asking.
chance I go to graduate school so I can get a master's in history, and then I can be a historian, which any history job that I want, like a real job, I need a master's degree.
What about law school? Are you still
That's
considering?
a possibility, but I wouldn't want to do that right after college. Then the other option is get married and not have to work.
And get your MRS.
Yep.
Your brain's too big. You need to.
You don't want to
use.
rely. You don't want to rely on a man.
No, but I mean, like, stay-at-home mom. I'm not saying, like, not work when I get married, but I'm saying depending
Once
on
you have children, you'd like to stay home with them.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
that's
potentially.
I loved staying home with you guys. That was the greatest gift your dad gave me, to be able to stay home with you, and I loved every minute of being a stay-at-home
I
mom.
don't know if that's
I would
true.
say most of the time.
Let's give her 99% of the
All
time.
right, you know, when you're with children all day, every day, it does get a little crazy, and when your dad's gone, weekends, it does get. But I don't think I'd ever want to change that, and if I had to redo it, I would want to be another stay-at-home mom.
You also had the grandparents to like help you if you needed it.
True. I was very fortunate to have the help that I had.
All three of you grew up with 4 grandparents 10 minutes away, right? I think you're,
Or a mile and a half away.
yeah. Or, yeah.
Not even. It was like
2 blocks.
yeah.
Good times. All right, Lou, let's explore soccer and how you got into soccer and how Manchester City became your team.
Well, I just like watching it, and then when I got really into Oasis a few years ago, the band, and Liam and Noel Gallagher are massive massive City fans. So that's the team I picked.
It's not Jack Grealish.
Well, that was also part of it. I like Jack Grealish.
Why do you like
Well,
Jack Grealish?
First of all, because he's a good-looking dude. And second of all, because he has a sister with cerebral palsy, so he's very involved with Special Olympics and stuff like that.
Oh, I love that about him.
So he's a good person.
Yeah.
You know.
And why do you love that about him?
Because my mom works with kids with special needs, so ever since I was a kid,
You've been involved.
How's Man City doing this year?
It started off good. Hasn't been going so well, and I don't really want to talk about it.
Wow. Because they won everything, right?
A few
Last-
years,
was it
no,
2 years ago?
2 years ago, they won everything. Now, past 11 games, they've lost 8.
Wow. Yeah, it happens when you follow a team for more than a couple of years. You're going to go through those periods.
I
Yeah,
also
get
want to
used
say
to
I'm
it.
not a bandwagon. Because everything.
What does that mean?
Means that I like them because they're good.
Oh, okay.
Because they were really good when I started liking them, but I didn't even know that. I picked them because of Oasis.
All right. Any final thoughts, Lou, about being 21 or just in general?
I'm glad that I'm 21.
You can throw
And I
away
can
that
legally.
fake ID.
Is the statute of limitations out on her? Fake ID. Lou, how quickly did you go to the ABC store upon turning 21?
Well, the day I turned 21, I went.
Because it just made you feel like an adult, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And apparently you can go the day before, which is weird, but
Yeah.
That's what I was told.
yeah, but
well.
we didn't. We went on her birthday.
And she asked for Mom to go with her. I would have loved to have gone.
Well, I
but-
didn't know that.
Yeah, it's all
and
good.
And I took pictures. So
Yes, you did. We have that for posterity. All right, Lou, happy birthday.
Happy
We love
birthday,
you very
Lou.
much.
Happy birthday.
We're very excited to have another 21-year-old in the family, or 21
And
plus in the family.
I'm excited if we do decide to go to a casino that you can join in our little annual
Yeah,
pastime.
gambling.
Yay.
All right, love you, Lou.
Love you.
Love you.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd also really appreciate if you'd rate and review us. You can find us at scodupodcast.com.